Hi, my name's Aaron from RetroGarage and we're here today with the team at Classic&Exotic, checking out one of their partners, Custodian Classics, and some of the amazing cars they have around, including this, a Mercedes 190e Evo. We're also going to talk to Thomas from Custodian Classics about some of the most important things to look out for if you're trying to keep a classic car on the road in Ireland.
Hi, I'm Thomas Tyrrell from Custodian Classics. We specialise in restoration and maintenance of classic cars here in Kildare.
So Thomas was saying off camera that his journey of classic cars actually started with a 911, you know, the car that pretty much everyone on the internet now wants. And you started that journey when you were 19.
The quintessential air-cooled car, I suppose. Yeah, it probably was. Like, I think with everybody that's into cars, it begins at birth. Is it wrong to say that?
I think so,
but, I was always into cars, but the 911 became something in my life very early on. I don't know whether it was a Matchbox toy or something, but it was something I craved for a long time. So I was very lucky, and when I tell people this, they think that I come from a privileged background, that I bought my first 911 when I was 19, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Like, when people were buying second-hand Almiras, I spent £7,000 on a 1979 911 that nobody wanted. And I spent more time under it than I did in it. So that's hence where I am now.
So we're now in your workshop. When did you build this place?
So I've actually been here for about 5 or 6 years, but the business is it's very young, it's 3 years old. And I used to have this workshop just for working on my own cars. Just from experience, obviously I have a vast background in cars. So I was a salesman for a long time. I ran a body shop for a long time. I'm a mechanic. So I've kind of reached every aspect, and my father-in-law's an upholsterer, so I've even touched off that side of it. So there's not one, and then of course I have the natural love for all classic cars. The way we have it set up is we have a short-term maintenance. So we do cars because an awful lot of our clients could have a couple of cars, and because of what the nature of the beast, they break.
Yeah.
So we can't just restore their cars and expect them to go elsewhere to have them taken care of.
Fair. So you kind of keep everything in one roof.
We have to be able to take care of the customer from start to finish and afterwards, as regards to restoration. So we have a short-term maintenance, and believe it or not, short-term maintenance is anywhere up to about 2 months.
Yeah.
And that could be in for, I mean, the car could be sitting around for 2 months because we're waiting on parts. That happens everywhere in the world. So an awful lot of cars you see here today are actually in for short-term maintenance, even though the car behind you on the ramp, 928 S4, is in for like gearbox rebuild, you know, a substantial engine work, suspension work, a lot of recommissioning. That car is here 2 months, and it'll probably be here for another 2 months by the time testing's finished. So it's not a restoration. Rust is the only unquantifiable thing to look out for. It's really hard. So if you see a bubble of rust on a car, it could be just a little bubble of rust, but it could also mean that the whole panel needs to be replaced, or it's further. You need to ask the question, why?
Yeah, it spreads.
But why is it there?
Yeah.
If it's original paint, is it because it had on salty roads, or has it had paint work? You need to ask the question, has it had damage and been painted before? And rust is really the one on every model, on every car to look out for, I think, because mechanical work, you can calculate how much a gearbox is going to be in engine rebuild, interior work, add-on parts, but when it comes to rust, until it's taken down, until you can't see through paint to a certain degree, you can, but until it's back down to the bare metal, you're really not going to know what you're dealing with, and that is the scary one. Okay, so this is something that we've kind of got into, not necessarily a service, but we call it factory reset. And from the bulkhead forward, we basically sandblast the whole car, metal, do any repairs, and make everything as new. So the original engine, as much as we can. This one was quite bad. And we've done a full engine rebuild from the ground up, all new internals and reconditioned where we can. But all the original metal, the plating, the gold you see, is most of its original metal, just replated. And again, the same with the aluminium was aqua blasted.
And is that what they would have been like from new?
Yes, and that's why, to be honest, I wouldn't give out about other restorers, but it's actually quite an easy process, and it amazes me sometimes how easy other restorers get it wrong. But the reason I don't give out is because it's down to budget, really, you know, so I'm being given the time to do it correctly. But when you are doing it correctly, it's so easy to do, because all you have to do is do it as the factory did it. Don't move from that. So do exactly as the factory did, and it'll be fine. And that's exactly how that car would have looked from the factory.
And then here's another example of that. You know.
Yeah, so this car, again, from the bulkhead forward, you can see this isn't as assembled. The wings are off and the front is still off it. Again, engine completely removed and rebuilt internally and dressed externally. New bulkhead insulation, even down to the wiring harness, the grommets coming out through the bulkhead, all the brackets, relays. We even send, some of these relays aren't available, so we send the original casings away to be plated.
But it's funny because, like, as I say, when people see these cars, especially when they're actually going to buy these cars like this, and cars that are, you know, maybe not as high value as these, we never actually see the engines the way they would have come out of factory.
Yeah.
They would have been covered in oil, covered in dirt, you know, 30, 40, 50 years of dirt and build up
and
on the engines.
It's actually great for us, being car enthusiasts. This is what I mean when I was talking about the Ferrari outside. We love seeing them. When it gets to this stage, when the cars are bare shells, or the engine's in, you know, in 50 pieces, it's not as exciting as when it's assembled and you're starting to put all the bits together. It looks great. Yeah. You get that drive. It's like looking at a freshly painted car. Yeah. It's the same. So when we paint the engine bay and we start detailing, start putting the parts back in, like new washer bottles and the bottle for the master cylinder, etc. It's all those little details, and it's those simple details going the extra bit. But again, as I said, on this car, all you have to do is follow what the manufacturer did. So yeah, this is the inlet manifold. So this is just more components. So we take every single part. Let's say let's pick this inlet manifold, every nut and bolt and washer and clip, and we take it all apart. It's assessed at this assembly stage, which in this car was probably 6 months ago, and the aluminium stuff is sent away for aqua blasting. These are all the original parts are sent away. They're dipped, sandblasted and dipped and cleaned and then replated. So they're all the original brackets for the car, alternator brackets and idle control. And what we do is everything is bagged and tagged and photographed before it leaves, and we're at a stage now that some of it has come back from the platers, and we go through, we put it back into its labelled bag, and then it can be fitted to the car when it's needed.
So this car is probably the car that caught my eye the most out of everything here. Amazing cars, obviously, but as a massive fan of Porsches and classic Porsches in particular, I love this. I just love it. And in the world of resto mods that we're going through at the moment, and there's almost like a boom and a renaissance where it's not just restoration, it's resto mod. It's kind of like,
absolutely,
and that doesn't mean completely modernize everything. It's just making it a bit more tailored, almost as if the owners kind of went to Porsche and were able to spec their perfect car at that time.
So this particular car was commissioned by a good client of ours, and it started off its life as an 81 impact bumper car. And we had a remit on it. He wanted it to be subtle. We didn't want to go full out turbo body, or we didn't want it to look like a race car as such. It had to be a usable classic, but modernised. But we've done some really special details. We got rid of the filler and put it under the bonnet rather than the Singer through the bonnet. We chromed the car, so everything that was anodised black was chromed. It's now a long bonnet car. And again, everything is in steel, so or metal. So the bumpers, and again with the rear, everything is metal. So we've probably got about, I don't know, maybe 800 hours on the body alone. New quarter panel seals. The only panels that are original, other than the body tub itself, are the doors. Everything else has been renewed.
Thomas, thank you so much for showing us around the workshop. Obviously now you're going to be a partner of Classic and Exotic as well, so people will see a lot more of you over there, as well as seeing maybe even some of the cars that have come through this workshop for sale on the site as well.
Yeah.
But I've one question for you. Yeah. Well, two questions even.
Yeah.
If you were to even recommend any car to anyone watching, what would it be if, you know, it's a limited budget? What would you recommend people kind of go out for?
That's a tough one, yeah. So I think if you're just starting off and you're looking, the criteria being that you're looking for something that is bound to increase in value, I would, it's really overseen, and it's been, like, I'm going to say this car now and some people go, oh no, and it's such an unsung hero, and it's been overlooked for so many years, and it can be bought for such small money, and I truly believe that in the future they're going to be rare and hard to come by, is a 924 Porsche. Like, you've got German build quality, you've got, like, you know, people go on, oh, they had a van engine. The engine was an Audi engine, it wasn't a van engine, and it was originally to be built for Volkswagen instead of Scirocco. Yeah. So I always said that they were fantastic, and they can be bought for really small money, and there's a few different models of them. One of them as a project is cost effective. You know, you can do an awful lot of the work yourself, and parts availability is great, and I think you'll get your money back. You buy right, you spend a few quid on it, I think you'll get your money back.
I guess, look, that's one end of the spectrum. What if budget was an issue? What would you go for? What would you recommend? What is the dream car?
Another. It's like, if you've no budget, and we're not talking about restoring a car here, we're just talking about buying one for increased value. Is a 959. I know that sounds mad, like when we're talking about €1 million cars, but you take that. A Ferrari F40 is now 3.5 million. You can buy a 959. You might get lucky and get one under $1 million, but certainly $1 million, $2 million, $3 will get you a really good car. They made such a limited number of them compared to the F40, and I can't believe that they haven't followed the trend. I know why. It's not red and it doesn't look like an F40, but the 959, you know, I can't believe that they haven't been dragged up as much as the F40.
Especially, do you know what, actually thinking of that, especially seeing as the rest of the Porsche 911 market,
it's amazing,
has absolutely skyrocketed.
Now look, maintenance costs on a 959, but if you were to compare it with a Mercedes 600 or compare it with, you know, an F40 for instance, or a McLaren F1, what, 20 million, 10, 20 million for an F1 McLaren? I mean, the maintenance is similar. So we're not concerned about maintenance when we're talking about budgets at that size, but for something that is now at the lower end, I think they are going to go crazy.
So Thomas, thank you so much for having us down here.
No problem, my pleasure.
And thank you also to the team at Classic and Exotic for having me down here as well. Really enjoyed our chats, really enjoyed checking out the 190 Evo earlier as well.
Yeah.
Incredible car.
You're welcome down anytime.
And also make sure to follow Classic and Exotic, and also check out classicandexotic.ie to get a full list of car events, especially classic car events in Ireland this year, and also to get a full list of approved partners when it comes to your classic car ownership.